Welcome back, mamas. Y'all, today I want to dig into the truth, your truth. What is your truth? We talked on Tuesday all about fear and how fear is a liar a lot of times. So, what's the truth? And how do we figure that out for ourselves? How do we go after what we want and not be scared of it? We're going to get some clarity around that today. So, let's get to it. Do you wish you had control of your days, that you had a rhythm, but instead feel overwhelmed, scattered, and like there's never enough time? You're in the right place. I'm Danielle, a recovering workaholic, wife, and stay-at-home mom of 2 girls. I've learned how to reclaim my time and find purpose and freedom so I can be present with my kids and feel like myself again. Here, we embrace where we are, but we don't stay there. So if you're ready to trade the chaos for clarity, the guilt for grace, and the endless to-do list for aligned flow, grab the kiddos a snack and toss in that laundry because I know you're multitasking, and let's do this because your time, your purpose, and you matter. Okay, mamas. So if you listened on Tuesday, you heard the whole story about what happened to us with my alarm, the cops coming to the house, the whole 9 yards. To sum it up, in case you didn't hear Tuesday's episode, you really should go back and listen because it's all about fear. And we really dig into how our mind plays tricks on us and how we can make assumptions and assume things that lead to us taking something that is little and turning it into something big, and it prevents us from getting what we want, right? And so today I want to dig into what is the truth? How do we figure it out? How do we face that fear and find it, right? And so I'm going to start with a quote. I'll touch a little bit on what happened on Tuesday so you're not completely lost, and then we're going to get into it. So this quote is from Marianne Williamson, and she says, "We fear that we are inadequate, but our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure." We fear that we're inadequate, but in reality, when we get still, one of our fears is maybe not that we're just inadequate. Maybe it's a fear that we are powerful beyond measure. And that what if we are that powerful? Then what, right? What if we really can do what we want? What if we can make our dreams come true, right? Like, what if we have all these dreams, these visions, these things that we want? What if we are so powerful that we are powerful beyond measure, beyond what we believe? That is actually the truth that we may be scared of, right? We want to sit there and believe that we're inadequate, or that's what we're choosing to believe. And that's what we're fearing, right? We're fearing that we're inadequate. However, what if the deeper fear is actually that we are not inadequate, that we are what we believe we are, that we are what we say we are, right? And that is something that you could possibly, it's deep, right? It's deep, but it is what you could be fearing. You could actually be fearing that you could accomplish that goal, that you could do that dream, that you are capable of it, and you are afraid to take the steps because of what other people think, of what other people might say, of what if it doesn't work? What if it fails? What if you are inadequate, right? But I believe that God would not have put a dream, a vision, something on your life, a purpose for you on your heart if you weren't fully equipped to see that thing through. I believe that with all of me. And I know that if you are sitting there and listening to this, or driving, or doing your laundry, or standing, whatever you're doing while you're listening to this, that you are wanting more for yourself, that you do want to fulfill your purpose, that you are in this motherhood role that you absolutely love. But there's something about you that is wanting more. There is something in you yearning for a fulfillment, for a peace, for a clarity around your life, that you want to feel fulfilled and you aren't exactly sure what that looks like or how to do that. right? And that's what I want to help you with. And that's what we're going to get a little deeper in on today. Okay. And if you didn't listen on Tuesday, I'll give you like a small little recap of the story of what happened, and which was my alarm was set off. The alarm company was called. I told them not to come because I assumed it was my cat. Right? First assumption, I assumed it was my cat. Then I got home and I decided for whatever reason to check to make sure that really there was no threat. And guess what? The back door was unlocked, which we never leave unlocked. The bottom and the top lock were both unlocked. And that doesn't happen in our house. So I immediately assumed that someone had actually been in our home. And I called the dispatch, who then dispatched the cops to our house. They came, they checked it, they said it was clear. But guess what? They left the back door open, completely wide open. That's the way they went in. So my second assumption, because my daughter was scared and we tried to leave, we tried to set the alarm when we left the house again and it wouldn't set, that someone had opened it again. Instead of assuming, oh, the police must have forgotten to close it, right? And my daughters were already scared and everything. So we assumed, number one, that the cat set off the alarm, which I still think that is actually what happened, right? Then we assumed that the house was clear, which it was. We assumed that the back door had been opened again, which it had not. It just had never gotten shut. And then the alarm, my husband got home, he went through the house, he set off the alarm again. So they sent the cops back to our house again. It was a cluster, y'all. And my kids believed that the cops missed something the first time. And I wasn't sure what to believe. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure how the basement door got opened again. But if you go back and listen to Tuesday's episode, you'll hear the whole thing and how it all played out. And all these assumptions led to these big fears that kept growing and growing in my children to the point where they wouldn't come home that night. Now we finally got them to come home, but then they wouldn't even sleep in their own beds alone. Like, it was crazy. And what happened was proved on my phone, because my phone app like has the alarm system. You can see every single little detail that happens. And so we had proof that the policeman must have left the back door open, because that back door, once it was opened that one time, never shut again. And we made this huge assumption that someone else must have reopened it and actually been in our home when the police had gone through it, right? And that was not true. It was just not true. So even when you have facts, right, you still have these pieces that you get to fill in when there's not all of the facts there. We didn't have all of the facts. We didn't know that the cop left the door open. We didn't know that. And so we jumped to an assumption. And I feel like this happens a lot of times in our lives when we don't communicate properly, right? With our spouse, with our children, when we don't have like closure or clarity or communication, like all of these things, they allow us to go to these worst case scenarios in our head and in our minds, and we start thinking these things. And so when we don't clearly communicate, we tend to make assumptions. When we don't have that, we tend to, a lot of times, like I said, go to the worst case scenario. And so you can assume that people will talk poorly about you if you, let's just say, pursue that goal that you want to pursue, or if you decide to do something that's outside of the norm, right? That other stay-at-home moms are not doing, right? Like, you're going against the grain by being a stay-at-home mom, but also wanting more for yourself, like starting a business or doing a side hustle or whatever it is that you're wanting to pursue, whether it just might be that you want to get more for yourself, like in the form of self-care and working out and different things like that, and that you want to hire a babysitter or something like that to be able to do that. And you might have a family member or someone looking down on you because you're wanting to hire some help to allow you to take care of yourself, when that is actually something that you know that you need in order to function as a mother, right? And so we need to check into the truths that we know to be true, that we know that we need to communicate When we do that, we need to communicate that to others as well. Because when we don't clearly communicate that to others, then they can assume. And while you may not care, or at least you're going to pretend like you don't care or say you don't care what other people might say, you do care what like your husband or your mother or your mother-in-law or, your best friend or what anybody like that, that is going to bother you, whatever they're going to say. Now, what they're going to think is their own deal, right? But what they're going to say is another thing, right? So again, it's not assuming what they're going to think. It's communicating how you're feeling, what you want, and your why to them. And then whatever they think, they're allowed to think, right? It's not of your concern because you know what's important to you and you know what you need for yourself. And that is the truth. It's your truth, right? And so when we're clear and we get clear, and this is the work, by the way, that we're doing in the Prioritize Your Purpose coaching, we are doing exactly that. We are getting clear on exactly what you want in your life, on exactly where you are, on what you hold dear to you at this moment. We find that out. We figure out what your strengths are. We figure out what you want in this life, what you want for yourself, for your family, for your children, for your relationships. And then we take steps towards that, towards making that happen. And we use everything that we've learned as the filter of how we do that and how long it takes too. Because sometimes you just need to really baby step along the way. And when you're making progress towards something that you want, then you're going to feel more fulfilled. You might not have that thing yet or be reaching the destination necessarily yet, but just taking the steps and knowing your path, a lot of times that is all that it takes. It is going to leave you in a place of peace, and you're going to have clarity on what your next steps are and why you're doing it this way, right? Because that's what's important to you and what's important for your family and what's important in your life at this present moment. So I wanted to read one more quote here, and this one is from Dale Carnegie, and it says, "Instead of worrying about what other people say of you, why not spend time trying to accomplish something what they will admire?" Instead of worrying what other people are going to say, spend your time reaching that goal. Spend your time doing something that they will admire, right? They're going to admire the fact of you being happy, right? Whether or not they admire what you're doing, they probably will, right? Because you're going to be doing something that is purpose driven. You are feeling called to this, right? But even if they don't admire what you're doing, they're going to admire the fact that you've made these changes, the fact that you are feeling fulfilled, the fact that you are happier, you're parenting from a better place, you are in a better space mentally. And that is going to be something that if they love you, they will admire. So I just want to implore you to do this work, to get clear on what it is that you want and why. And this is something that can be hard to do. I realize that. I recognize that. I know that I went about it in all the wrong ways for a while, right? Like I knew something was wrong. I knew something was going on. I knew I wanted more, but I didn't really recognize what it was or how to get that. And so I just took all my time and poured it into all these things that used to bring me joy and that I thought would make me happy, and they didn't. And I couldn't figure it out. I could not figure out why I still was not fulfilled. What was the matter with me? That's what I kept thinking. I kept thinking that something was the matter with me, but nothing was the matter with me, right? Like that was a lie. And again, another lie. Fear is a liar. I was so afraid that I was never going to fulfill my purpose, that I was never going to figure out how to be happy again. I was never going to, you can insert all of these things that you feel like you're never going to do again. And that was my limit. I'm going to read a quote from Robin Sharma that says, the fears we don't face become our limits. The fears we don't face become our limits. I was sitting there afraid of everything, right? Like I was afraid that I wasn't going to do this or I wasn't going to do that. And that was actually holding me back. And until I got clear on what it was that I wanted, right? I had to get still. It was something that I, being an ADHD person, right? Like I don't do that often. I do not get still and really sit there and check in and think about what it is that I really want because I just do. And when I was doing, I was doing all of the wrong things. And so this is why we have to take the time and figure all of this stuff out. And like I said, I've done the work now and I want to help you do it too. It's why I have the Prioritize Your Purpose coaching. And it's why I developed these steps and taking you through them in such a way where you are able to figure out you first. Because we have lost our identity as mothers. What I have learned from so many moms is that we feel like we don't know who we are anymore, right? Once we stay at home and we just aren't sure how to be ourselves again. And so we need to reconnect with that. And so that's what we do in the Prioritize Your Purpose coaching. I would love for you to walk through it with me. You can do this on your own. I have said this many times, and I do believe you can do it on your own. However, I believe that if you do it on your own, it will take you so much longer. And that since I have walked this walk, I can help you through it. I can help you see your blind spots. I can help you to be able to face those fears and to really be with you in the mindset piece of everything as well, which is super important. And it does get rough sometimes when you are looking at this stuff and you just feel frustrated. So I just want to end with one last quote from Brené Brown, and it says, "You can choose courage or you can choose comfort, but you cannot choose both." We can choose courage or comfort, but we can't choose both. And so it may feel comfortable to sit in what we already know, right? Like sometimes that feels comfortable, right? But we need to embrace that courage. We need to face our fears because what's on the other side of that is going to be so rewarding and so worth it that I know you can do it because I've done it. So I know you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And I want to help you with that as well. So if you did not listen to Tuesday's episode, go back and listen. That was like a part 1, and this is the part 2. If you just caught this, you may have to re-listen to it even because I feel like it will make so much more sense once you hear the whole story and you really get a glimpse into this fear and how it can control us. You may already know that, right? I really want to encourage you to embrace it, to face it head on, to take that and face it and look at the truth. Look for the truth. What is your truth? Have the courage to find it. Have the courage to sign up for the Prioritize Your Purpose coaching. I am just plugging away at this today because I truly believe that this will help you so much. If you are in this place, I know that this coaching will help you. And that is the reason that I have developed it. I would love to walk through it with you. So go to prioritizewithpurpose.com, prioritizewithpurpose.com, check it out. Sign up for a session, and I will see you right back here next week. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, Mama. If so, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and then hit share and send this to a mom who needs this in her day. I'll meet you right back here next week. Keep smiling, y'all.